Hi, welcome to my YouTube Live. My name is Anna McDougall. Today I'm going to be showing you the basics of HTML. What we're going to do is we're going to download what's called an IDE. It's basically a good software to write code in. You don't have to do it in an IDE. You could use something like Notepad for HTML, but IDEs make life a bit easier, so we're going to download that. Then I'm going to basically just construct a really simple HTML website. I'm going to talk to you about a few different things we can do. I'm going to explain maybe a few cool features, and then if we have some time, I might add what are called styles using CSS. If you don't know what that means, no stress, it's all good. I'm going to explain everything. Of course, there is a comments section. If you have any comments, questions, anything along those lines, please feel free to drop them into the comments. I will say if they're like personal questions, probably not the time. But if it's about HTML and CSS and Visual Studio Code, then I am all about it and they are very, very, very welcome. So with that said, let's start with the boring part, which is just downloading Visual Studio Code. I'm on a Mac. I will say that in all previous times that I have used Visual Studio Code, I've been either on Windows or Linux. So this is a new experience for me. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's hope that it goes very smoothly and easily, and then we can just get started with the fun stuff, which is the code itself. Why should we use code editors? It will make a lot more sense once you see it. The old school way of writing HTML, I don't know if I actually have, oh there we go, it's fun, of writing HTML was just to open up a notepad or a text document, a plain text document, and just to start typing, you know, whatever, like this, and then you just save it as a .html file and open it in your browser, and voila, you'd have a website. You can still do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But IDEs make things a little bit easier, especially once you start building bigger websites, they become invaluable. So let's try downloading it and see what happens. Okay, this is good. It's downloading. In the meantime, as I said, feel free to let me know who you are. Please just raise your hand or say something in my chat. I'm always happy to see new faces and old faces, experts and newbies. Everyone is welcome here. Okay. I do have some water on hand as well. I'm hoping that this can be at least an hour long, but I'm not actually that confident because my voice is already a little bit sore after a day of helping a lot of people. So I don't actually know how long I'll last, but we will try. We'll see how we go. Okay, let's have a look. Where is it? I clicked it. I clicked the thing, it downloaded the thing. You're gonna see some of my downloads. There it is. Okay. Did that do anything? Archive utility? That's probably it, right? I only recently got a Mac for work and I'm still so confused by it, I have to say. But since I probably am going to end up needing Visual Studio Code anyway, this is kind of a two birds, one stone situation. It's all right, Stephen, I know who you are. It's all good. Okay, so that apparently just opened. Downloads? It just opened. All right, cool. Nice. All right, you can see my downloads folder, see all my secret stuff. I'm just kidding, I don't think there's anything secret in there. Probably some pictures or something of me riding a unicorn or something. So here we are. That was relatively simple. Let's make sure that we have some basic functionality that I want. Let's open a folder. Let me have a little look here. Let's open documents. I'll just open that. Do I trust the authors of the, yeah, I mean, I'm the author of these files. Yes, I trust the author. New folder. HTML demo. Here we go. All right. So what did I do? I just went into an existing folder, which is just my documents folder, and I just oops, it's not what I wanted to do. I just right clicked, hi Nadinda, how are you? And selected new folder. And then I created a folder called HTML demo. So just to get your bearings here in VS Code, I'll widen it up so you can see it more clearly. And once we're in, I think I'll zoom in a little because I know that the screen can be a little bit small when, yeah, it's going through the tube frame system of tubes. And anyway, we'll go in here. Look, there's nothing in there. So I'm pressing the thingamy, nothing's happening. That's fine because we haven't put anything in there yet. Let's create a file. And we're going to call it index.html. Why are we calling it index.html? You'll see in so many tutorials that they call it index.html. Why don't we call it home.html or web.html? Does anyone in the audience care to guess? I need some more water. So you can speak up. Why do we call it index.html? I'm curious if any of you can tell me. Hey Scott, thanks for joining. Pretty sure you don't need a tutorial in HTML, but it's nice to see you. Command plus, yeah, I will do that. But first we're going to talk about index. Why do we call it index.html? And let me see, meanwhile, if I can... Nope, that doesn't work. I'm on Mac, by the way, Scott. I don't know. All of the commands end up being a little bit different. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. You know what? I'm just going to have to look in here. View. You would think it would be in view, wouldn't you? It's the default file expected by the web server. Yes, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, we can say it that way. Index.html is the default file expected by the web browser. What does that mean? Okay, if we type www.google.com, what we are usually actually getting is google.com/index.html, right? But because it's the default, we can just type www.google.com, right? So index.html is basically the default. It allows us to not have to type the file ending whenever we see a website. What you might not realize is that every single page you visit on the web is an HTML page at the end of the day. So what you are doing here is basically creating the building blocks of a website. Here's the thing. Actually, before I do that, let me get the Zoom thing working because that's important before I continue. Zoom. Search, appearance, full screen, zoom in. Okay, it's Apple minus. The things you learn. Oh, no, I'm pressing Apple minus and that is not doing it. Oh, there we go. All right, that's a bit better. Hopefully that's a little bit clearer to you. Okay, so now here we are. Every time you visit a website, you are viewing an HTML document. What is HTML? All right, HTML equals hypertext markup language. What does that mean? To be honest, you don't really need to know. The idea is that a markup language allows you to take, let's say, a chunk of text and to mark it up, mark it up to say what each bit is and give some general rules about how to present it. So, for example, if you have a newspaper article, you have the headline and then you have the article itself. Well, you don't want all of that displaying the same way, right? You want the headline to be bigger, and then you want the text for the article itself to be a little bit smaller. Similarly, maybe you want part of your text to be a link to another web page. So that's also an option for you to do here. You don't want that text to just display like text, you want it to display like a link. So that's the idea. You're marking up with this language HTML. All right. HTML is like the skeleton of every web page on the internet. If you go to a web page, you know what? Fine, let's do it. Okay, here we are. We're on the Visual Studio Code webpage. There's actually this great thing you can do. You just hit F12. Does it work on Mac? Yes, it does. And if you click on this elements thing, you can actually see the HTML. And you know it's HTML because it has this thing that says doctype HTML. And even if that doctype thing weren't there, you actually have this tag. Yeah, what we call a tag. Anything with these less than sign and the positive sign. It's the other way around for you, isn't it? Less than sign and positive sign, more than sign. And that says HTML, and that tells us this is HTML. So every single website you visit ends up being HTML. This is called the head area. We don't actually see anything in the head area. And then we have the body, which is where you see, well, where you mostly see what's in there, where all the magic happens, where we see everything we like. And then you have the closing tags. And now I said a tag was anything in these, the greater than, less than, greater than. And the closing tags is with this slash, right? So you see here we open the body and here we close the body. And this is a really important concept to understand. When you open a tag, you close a tag, right? And this is part of this marking up, right? You want to say, this is a headline, this is a link, right? This is probably a list of some sort, right? What's another example? They don't really have any bold, but you could also have bold text or italic text. These are different tags that you can have to say how you want the text to present for you. You call them pointy boys. I like that. Pointy boys. A tag, yeah. A tag is the best HTML element ever. Yeah, you can fight. You guys can fight in the comments about what the best HTML tag ever is. I'd be very interested to see the results. Okay, so now that we know basically what it is, we can say we know HTML, and here straight away you can see one of the benefits of working in Visual Studio Code. All I've typed is HTML. It has automatically closed that tag for me, right? It's put my cursor in between the two and said, put your HTML here, basically. In ye olden days, so I first learned HTML when I was 8 years old in the mid-90s. And when I learned HTML in the mid-90s, it gives you an idea of how old I am, you were doing this in Notepad. So you had to manually remember to always close your tags. You had to manually remember to type all this stuff. But Visual Studio Code makes it super easy. You can just type HTML like that, and voila, you're in HTML. You could then type head. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. There it is, you know, blah, blah, blah. Head stuff goes in there. We'll talk about that later. Body, yeah. This is where the magic happens. And we'll just leave it there. Okay, this is the most basic structure for a web page you can think of. And we could even add here, I think it's, oh God, I'm testing myself now. It's been a while since I've done HTML. This will be a good refresher for me as well. Title is basically what appears at the top. So when you see in the tab that it has a little bit of text there, that's the title. So here we could say best website ever. Let's do some exclamation marks. It's good stuff. All right, so here we go. We've got this HTML document. We've got head with a title. We've got a body with some basic text. This is, in and of itself, what I would call basically the bare minimum of what every website should be. And this is kind of where we're going to start. But what does this look like, right? I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed when you see it. So let's have a look. Fun fact about Visual Studio Code. Can you see how there's this little white dot there next to the index.html? That little white dot basically means you haven't saved this yet. So if we try to open this, we're not going to see anything, right? We're not going to see anything at all because I haven't saved this yet. So I just do Control S, it's saved. You see the little white dot has disappeared. And now here we can do this. We right click and, oh, can we do it this way? Open with, let's try that. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Open to the side. Oh, nope, that's also not what I wanted. Great. Okay, so we're gonna have to do this manually. Fun times. Let me see if I can get there. Documents, HTML demo. Okay, here we go. So I've just opened my Finder and I've gone to the folder that we're in right now. I'm in Documents, in HTML demo, and here you can see index.html. What do you already notice about this file? Can you see it? It's quite small, so maybe you can't see. Oh no, that's not. I thought that was a zoom, but it's a search. Let's have a little look. Hang on. Let's see if I can. Gallery. Oh, okay. It gives us a preview. That's awesome. Okay. Anyway. Oh, okay. You can tell I'm not used to Mac icons. It says HTML there, right? It tells us. We open it, right? We double click it. It's probably going to open in Firefox, I guess. Yeah. That's unfortunate because I want it to open in Chrome. There we go. Wrong screen. And here we go. Here we have our best website ever. Are you disappointed? You're probably a bit disappointed, aren't you? Because here's the title that we put in, best website ever. Here's our file. That's where it is. This is our address. And this is where the magic happens, right? That's the text that we entered, but there's nothing else, right? It's completely empty, just a white box with text. So this is the absolute basics. I'm actually curious. I think this should work. Oh, it doesn't work. That's a shame. Well, just so you know, if this were on the internet, we could just delete that and that would load the exact same thing, right? This is the whole beauty of index.html. Unfortunately, it's not working for us. There is a really cool addition that you can add to VS Code that we're going to add now to make our lives a little bit easier, because as you can see, that was quite a few steps just to open the file that we built. So let's save ourselves a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of effort to install it. There's a fly in here, but once you've installed it, it will save you a ton of effort. All right, so we're going to go to this tab here. It says extensions, right? We're going to click on that, and we are going to type here live server. Can you hear the dog? I'm curious. Okay, here we have live server, and we'll just click install. Okay, we wait a second. Doop, 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 doop. Great. So now it's there. Let's see if we can use it straight away or not. We can. Okay, so we right clicked and now you see we've now got this option which is open with live server. Let's try it. It's going to open with Firefox again, isn't it? Of course. All right, can we open it with live server and not open it in Firefox? Can we open it in Chrome? Yeah, let's try this. Aha, we can. So you see here what this has done is it's created a weird little server for us. Don't worry, you don't have to understand what that means. All you need to know is that now automatically this will update with any changes we make. And as you can see here, now, if we remove that, come on, don't let me down here. Yes, you can see we still get our web page even without the index.html. So this is where we get that default behavior that we really want. So now the really cool thing is, and I will show you live, the power of live. Now look at this. Watch this. All right, I'm gonna save this. And when I save this, it should instantly appear. Let's try it. Boom, there it is. So it makes our lives a lot easier. It means we don't have to keep refreshing our HTML as we work. So let's use that. I encourage you to use that. And then that should make our lives easier. Let me close this so I can see comments. Thank you, go away, please. All right, so now here we are. We've got our little live server up and running. We've got our little website up and running. Let's talk about head. I'm actually gonna open up some supporting material here because I don't want to feed you anything incorrect. the other thing I'm curious if it's here, ooh, is Emmet. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying, a lot of this extra stuff I give you, this live server, what I'm about to show you called Emmet, it is all a bonus, right? All you really need is a document ending in .html and you can write HTML. These are just little like hacks that make your life that little bit easier so that when you're coding, it's quicker and simpler to see the results. Let's delete our wonderful website because we're going to do something really cool. Oh no, we've lost it all. Just joking. We're going to do exclamation mark. That's it. Now, Emmet is this awesome kind of, well, in VS Code it's inbuilt, right? So it's a behavior that's inbuilt, but it's like a shortcut language that allows you to just drop a lot of tags very quickly and very easily. And here you'll see exactly what I mean. All I've typed is an exclamation mark. I'm going to then press enter. There you go. Now you have your base website to work with. Just exclamation mark and enter, and then you have this doctype HTML, something that sets the default language, which is really nice, and then some information here in the head. So let's backtrack a little bit and talk about what the head tag does. I've spoken about doctype HTML and HTML here, just basically letting the browser know, hey, I'm an HTML file. Please read me like an HTML file. Don't try to, I don't know, think that I'm JavaScript. That's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. I'm HTML. Get it right. That's what the tags are for. Then we've got this head tag. As I said earlier, the head tag is mostly invisible, but for this document, this title section, right? So we update the document here and we call it best website ever. Like that. Two more. We've got to get into this. And then we've got a few other things here. I've got to be totally honest with you. I'm not really sure what that does, but it can't be a bad thing. And this here has to do with how the browser and this document recognizes different devices. Again, though, I would say don't worry too much about that now. Same with this. This is about like the type of characters that we're using in the website. If you are using English characters for the most part and aren't doing any sort of weird scripty, cool, artsy stuff or stuff in other languages or with other alphabets, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Most of the time, you just leave this all alone. Just don't touch it. But the title, you can touch. And then later, if/when we end up adding styles to this to make it look great, we will actually then start putting some more stuff in here to do with styles. But for now, that's all we need from the head, right? The head has kind of done its thing. Some other stuff that tends to go in the head are things to do with what's called search engine optimization, so ways to make your website more easily found by search engines. I can show you, no, that was the wrong screen. Here we go. So if we go back to our example here of the Visual Studio Code download site, we can actually see here that there's a lot going on here, right? I'm trying to see. Yeah, here we go. So this is the kind of stuff that helps as well with, in this case, it looks like it's for Twitter and Facebook, but it's the same idea, right? It's saying description, it's giving a short description so that when this is passed by Twitter or Facebook or whatever, that this is going to be the default text that shows up. So all of this kind of stuff that just sets what's going on. Look, there's even a date published thing so that it can be properly passed and all the websites know how recent the file is, whatever. They should probably update that because I'm guessing they have actually updated it since 2016. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I guess they're just saying date published, not date updated, so it makes sense. And these are the style sheets. This is the thing I was talking about with styling and making things pretty. That's basically how we'll end up doing it, but we don't have to worry too much about that. So now that we've spoken generally about the head tag, we can move on to the fun stuff. The head stuff is kind of boring. It's kind of the behind the scenes of what's going on to just make your website work with different what are called crawlers. So I wouldn't worry too much about that as a newbie. So let's head back to the body tag. Okay, so as I said earlier, this is where the magic happens. Let's think about a kind of website we might want to make, right? Let's say we want a website with some sort of navigation bar, right? And it's going to have home, about, and contact, right? So that's our navigation bar. And then we want there to be an image of a cat, let's say. Then we want there to be some text, and the text will say, "My cat Jane." And then we'll have a nice little poem about my cat Jane. Earlier, when I talked about Emmet, I mentioned that there are lots of like little quick tricks to getting Emmet to do things for you that you need done. One of those quick tricks is called lorem ipsum. Now, if you've been to any test websites at all, you've seen lorem ipsum text. It's just kind of random, well, it's not random, but it's Latin text that people use just as a placeholder, right? So here I'm going to show you how to add lorem ipsum text with Emmet. We can type lorem, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's a star. Maybe it's not even a star. 10. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. Okay, and so now we have this huge chunk of text. Let's break it up a little bit because it's a lot. Let's break that up. Let's break that up. Let's break that up. Okay. And you know what? Let's actually just cut that whole last piece. That's a lot of text. And I think, I'm just wondering as well if we can do it even more simply, maybe lorem 6. Yeah, okay, cool. So if you type, that was actually more what I was going for. So let's do lorem 100. That's 100 words of lorem text. Okay, so this is again Emmet just being awesome and doing this for us, so we don't have to go Google some random site that has lorem ipsum text and then copy paste it into our document. Let's make a break there. Oh, I did something dodgy. Oh, no, okay. There we go. All right, so now we have all this lorem ipsum text. It doesn't look very nice here. Oh, and let's say that at the bottom we want to say copyright Anna McDougall 2021, because it's the best website ever and I don't want anyone stealing my website's content. Just saying. All right, so let's save this, and let's have a look at what we've got. Here's our best website ever. Whoa! Well, that's not how we imagined it. That's not how we imagined it at all. It looks shit. What are we gonna do? Well, why does it look shit? Because we haven't actually used any markup, right? As I said before, without HTML, or without using this markup of text, all of the text we enter is just viewed as like one long line, right? This doesn't even know that there's a line break there. It's very frustrating. Let's start with line breaks. Let's start by just adding line breaks in. How do we add a line break? Very simple. You just type bruh. And some people like to kind of auto close it like that. I have no idea what the difference is, but it looks nice, so we'll stick to that. So we just copy that, and we'll just paste it everywhere there's a break, right? Every single line. There we go. There we are, there we are, there we are. And at the end of these, we should probably wrap text. That might be nice. Let's have a look if we can do that. View, appearance, edit a layout, word wrap, here it is, haha. Okay, that's a lot easier to read. Okay, let's save it. Okay, surely now our website will look more like what we imagine. Okay, well, it definitely looks better than it did before. The copyright is at the bottom, which is where I wanted it. And my navigation bar is at the top, which is where I wanted it. Doesn't do anything, but still, it's good. It's there. My image of a cat is, of course, not an image. It's the word. The word's image of a cat. My cat Jane is no bigger or smaller than my piece of text that is presumably about my cat, Jane. And my copyright looks exactly the same as well. So let's use some more tags. This helped, right? It's better. We're working here. Things are going. But there's more that can be done. So let's actually start with the home about contact. All right, there is a great tag called nav. Okay, as you can guess, it's for navigation bars. Will this create a navigation bar on our webpage? I don't know. Let's save it and have a look. It looks exactly the same. Why is that? Well, because the nav tag is actually kind of, I was going to say purely decorative, but it's not true. It does actually serve a purpose, but to those of us who are just looking at a web page with our bare eyes, it doesn't do anything. What nav does is it tells what are called screen readers that what they're about to look at is a navigation bar. And that's helpful for people who use these devices, for example, blind people, but also increasingly in a lot of Western countries, there are also a lot of older people who can't read small text who are starting to use these devices as well. So having that nav bar there is, or having that nav tag there is good for them to kind of know what they're seeing. Hi, Alexandria. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see you. All right. So traditionally speaking, nav bars are presented as lists. Yeah, because we have a list, right? 3 things we want to be links to different web pages. So let's talk about links. We have 2 types of lists in HTML. I got so distracted by Alexandria arriving that I couldn't remember the lists in HTML. I was about to type them out, but actually I want to show you another cool thing about Emmet. So traditionally, actually let me show you first. Unordered list, UL stands for unordered list, right? So we do that, and then each point in an unordered list is called a list item, right? List item. So like this, LI, 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 and just as a reminder, you can see that all of these tags are being closed. If they're not closed, you will come into trouble. You will have trouble and it will cause you a lot of pain. Okay, so let's say here we have home, about, and contact. Lovely. And now we can just delete this because we've got it in a nice list. Let's save and see what happens. Okay. Well, that's looking much closer to an actual navigation pane. It's not a nav bar in the traditional sense of being across the top, but at least we're showing that these are 3 separate things that we can actually use in some way, right? So that's awesome. So that's an unordered list, right? Because it's got just dots, dot, dot, dot. So what is an ordered list? If that's an unordered list, what is an ordered list? Well, as you can imagine, it's ordered. You have 1, 2, 3. It automatically adds the next number on for you. So I showed you just now how to manually type out a list with 3 list items, LIs, list items. But you can also do this with Emmet. You do OL plus LI. I think it's OL plus. No, it's into. OL greater than LI times 3. Right, and now I'm going to press enter, and there you go. There's an ordered list with 3 list items. So what does that mean? When I type OL, that's becoming the ordered list. This symbol, this greater than symbol, is saying inside the ordered list, put in a list item, and then put 3 of them. Yeah, if you think of the asterisk, so asterisk as being like a times or a multiplication, it's quite clear how that works. So that's what I typed to get that. And now if we put home about contact. I'm going to cheat a little and just copy paste here. And we save. We're going to see both of them just as a warning. But you can see the difference here between an ordered list, which is just the dots, and an unordered list, which is just the dots, and an ordered list, which has the 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's the basics of lists. Now, we're not going to worry about actually linking these to web pages. We'll come back to that. That can be part of what we tackle later. So let's delete our ordered list because, you know, navigation bars, I don't know about you, I don't really see them as ordered. I more see it as, you know, 3 separate points. So we'll stick to an unordered list. It just kind of makes more sense to my brain. You can see something here which is just interesting to note, that our closing nav tag has now kind of become unindented. I would strongly recommend, especially if you're a beginner and you're just starting out with code, that you keep an eye on this and try to keep things really neat. One of the most underappreciated things from newer coders is the value of code neatness. I have to preface this by saying, in the real world, I'm not a particularly neat person. I'm not dirty, but I'm not like keeping my desk particularly ordered. I'm really glad that camera is not lower, so you can't see the mess that my desk is, right? But when it comes to my code, I am meticulous. And the reason is that code is designed to be parsed by computers. Yeah, computers have to understand it, but it has to be read by humans. You are not the only person looking at your code. Other people presumably will. If you ever work in a team, you ever want to do this as a team exercise or attend a hackathon or work professionally as a developer, anything along those lines, or even just show your code to a friend just for feedback, or you get stuck on something, they won't be able to tell where to look if the code is all over the place. So it's a small thing. It doesn't technically make any difference at all in terms of what actually happens with the code, but it is important for your longer term development, and I would encourage you to keep an eye on it early, because if you do, for example, a coding interview and you write really messy code where the indentation is all over the place and things like that, you won't get called back. Like, it sounds petty, but it causes a lot of headaches. So now that I've done that little side note, let's continue on. The next big thing we want, right, we can get rid of that break because we already have our list now to help us format our code. We've used our markup language here to mark up these 3 words and make them a little more important. They have a bit more of a prominent place on our web page. Now we want an image of a cat. Well, how do I turn text into an image? Well, I can't, right? I have to use a new tag. And this tag is called, this is gonna shock you, so I hope you're ready. It's called the image tag. I had you for a second there, you have to admit. All right, so we've got an image tag. And what we have to do here, if we just put image, I mean, there's not enough information, right? The computer has no idea in this situation what you want to do. It knows you want to put an image there, but which image? From where? What size? It doesn't know. It's a computer. Computers without programming are completely dumb. They just take information in, process it, and then spit it back out, right? So we need to tell the computer where our image is. How do we do that? We use an what's called, I suppose it's called an attribute, if I'm remembering correctly, my HTML terminology, called source. Yeah, this stands for source. Now, if your image is on the internet, this is extremely easy. We can open Chrome, here we go. Let's actually just find a cat. Cat. Here we go. All right, let's find a cat. Oh, look, that cat is just waiting for us. Okay, and we're just gonna say copy image address, right? Now, I have to say, this is not a good way to usually do things, because copyright is a thing and you should always pay for the rights to use this stuff if you're using it in any sort of commercial environment. But if you're just making a website for yourself to practice HTML, I really don't think you're going to break any hearts by just copying the image address this way. So copy the image address, and now we're just going to paste it. There we go. And now we've got an image. So let's save and see what happens. We know that there's going to be an image, and this is the source. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, there she is. Hi, Jane. But unfortunately, we still have this word image of a cat, right? The words image of a cat. So let's remove that because we've got our image now. And again, say, I know it's so cute, right, Alexandra? Oh, you know, I don't have any pets and I really wish I did. All right, so here we go. So now we've got our navigation bar, home, about, contact. We've got a cat, import it. And then we've got my cat, Jane. But I think this image might be a little too big. I mean, it's adorable, don't get me wrong, but it's taking up a lot of our webpage. And actually, if we were to get, let me see if I can find an extreme example for you. Let's see if I can find a ridiculous example for you. All right, let's have a look. Open image in new, that wasn't it. Open image in new tab, there we go. Okay, this is a big image. Let's copy this image address. It's also super cute. Let's replace this. Sorry, other cat. Okay, I'm gonna save. Let's have a look. Oh, wowee. That's a big cat. Hey, Francesco, welcome, welcome. So now we've got this enormous cat on our page. We didn't want to, we wanted to talk about our cat Jane, but we didn't want to make it impossible for our reader to actually see what we're saying. All right, so let's make Jane a little bit smaller by using native HTML. I will preface this by saying, usually once you're out in the big bad world, you will do a lot of resizing stuff using a very different method. You'll use CSS properties, you'll use media queries, you'll use Flexbox, Grid, all kinds of stuff. But today is about HTML. And you can control the size of images with HTML. So let's talk about it. The simplest way is just by doing this. I know, shocking stuff, width, okay? And we're just gonna type, let's see, I'm testing myself here. I think you just type 500. This is gonna be a test. Let's try saving that and see what happens. It's been a long time since I've done HTML. Oh, look at that. There's our cat Jane, looking beautiful and serene and at a much, much nicer size. Next time a cute whale. Ah, very nice. I get it now. Yes, I will. Yeah, it was a gigantic kitty. You came in at the right time, Francesco. All right, so here we are with our kitty cat, our nav bar. So we've marked up quite a bit already, but let's keep marking up. We've got 3 more sections to go. We've got a header, we've got some article text, and then we've got my little copyright thing. Well, this cat Jane and the text, we want to mark them up differently, but they are related, right? They're kind of in one chunk. They belong together, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use a tag called section, right? This is kind of like I said before with nav. Nav, for all intents and purposes, doesn't seem to do anything for us, but it is what we call semantic HTML. That means that it describes what is inside. And so we're going to use that here as well. We're going to say section. I'm really glad that I was right about the name of that because I was questioning myself for a second there. And let's pop it in there, section. This looks awful. Look at how awful this looks. It is all over the place. Let's fix up some of this indentation. Francesco missed my rant about indents and making things readable for other people. but everyone else didn't, so here I am. Okay, so here we go. We'll put that down there. The thing is, there's another tool. Maybe I should just tell you about it. There's another tool that helps with this, right? That means you don't have to labor over this. So let's actually take a second to talk about it, because you will hear about it. It's called Prettier. Okay, Prettier Code Formatter. Beautiful, beautiful software. We install it. This one takes a little bit more to actually get up and running. Extensions, oh, I don't think it's in extension settings. I think we actually go to preferences, settings, and then here you type format. You've got default formatter, and here you select Prettier, and then you can do format on save. Right, click that, and that's saved, I think. And now this should, famous last words, when I hit save, this should automatically format everything quite nicely. Let's try it. Ooh, it did the thing. All right, great. So now everything's formatted much more nicely. This just saves us from all that effort. Tab, enter, tab, enter. We've saved a little bit of time now. It's a great extension. I fully recommend you get it. Okay, so now we've got this section and it's got information about my cat Jane, including a header. So yes, this you might be tempted to call a title. Okay, it's the title of our article, but in HTML world, we call it a header. There are many, many, many different headers. If I'm remembering correctly, I think it goes up to 6, but technically you could keep going forever. But the main ones that you'll see around H1, in fact, let's use some Emmet because I was talking about Emmet. H1 plus H2 plus H3, enter. There you go. Now we've got 3 different fields. H1 header, we've got H2 header, and we've got H3 header. So before we do anything, let's save that and have a look at how that looks. And look, did you see how it automatically shifted onto the next tab? Beautiful stuff. All right, here you can see the difference between the headers. Although actually, here's a fun fact that I didn't know. It looks like the H2 header and the H1 header look the same. But and again, this goes back to semantic HTML. It's important that you make the big header of your page H1, the next most important point H2, the next most important point H3, etc., etc., etc. This is in order to help, I suppose, prioritize the text that you're showing, again, for any screen readers or similar technologies. So let's stick with H1 because this is important, crucial stuff. And let's put our My Cat Jane text in there. Now, here's a fun fact for you. Whenever you put something H1, and you might have noticed this already, it will automatically add a line break, right? Unlike our text earlier, we didn't see H1 header, H2 header, H3 header on our web page one next to the other, right? They automatically went down onto the next line. This is because of a difference of elements that are called inline elements and elements that are called block elements. Block elements automatically block the entire width of the page. That's an easy way to think of it. Inline elements, as you can kind of tell from the word, stay in a line together. So we'll see some examples of this later, but the important thing to know is that these elements are block elements. So when we look here, we can see our H1 header, H2 header, H3 header are automatically separated, right? There's this gap between them automatically. How do you select, it's a good question, Alexandria. How do you select multiple of the same word and replace it? Is that Emmet? It's been a long time since I've used VS Code and never on Mac. So that's a great question. You can just do, of course, a replace. So we could do, for example, here, we could search for the term header, and then we could replace it with, oh no, it's going to do it in everything. We could do header and replace it with the word potato. And then you can see that what it would do, oh, hang on, I can do it here. I can replace it there. No, we're not going to change any of those, thank you very much. Is that we're going to actually see it change here from H2 potato, H3 potato. But I do believe there is an easier way. I'm just trying to remember what the shortcut was, but I might have to come back to you on that. Maybe if you could actually comment in one of my Twitter feeds, or actually comment below on this video, if you can, and just say exactly that question, I will definitely let you know and get back to you, because I am pretty sure there's like a fun way to do it where you can select something and then you press like, I don't know, Control K or something. It's not Control K, but it's something like that. And then it will highlight the next potato so you can edit them together. But I cannot for the life of me remember it. Oh, there's also this, find all references. No, okay, that's not it. All right, well, it was worth a try. Comment it below and I'll try to get back to you on it, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Okay, so we've got these potatoes. We're gonna delete them because this is not a website about potatoes, folks. This is not a website about potatoes. This is a very serious website about my cat, Jane. Okay, so let's talk about Jane. Here we go. We've got some text. Let's save and see what this looks like now. Okie dokie. Here we go. Okay, we're already looking a lot better. We've got this text here. It looks different to this text, right? This is our header and this is what we're saying about it. Shift D could be. Let's see if there's a word here that's repeated. Venium. Shift D. No, I mean, that's just a capital D. Maybe you meant Control D. Okay, let's try. I think it could be even Control D. Oh, it is. So it's, on mine it's Apple D because I'm on a Mac. But then you can do this. Woo! Hello, Quasit Excitanium. Very good. Thanks, Nogoako. Thank you so much. Great. But there is something else we can do here, and again, this has to do with semantic HTML. It is a really good idea to get to know these semantic tags early on because you will have to use them later on, and that's to type the term article like this, and we can then put that down here like that. To be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure about whether article would go around the header as well or just around the text. But we can keep it like that. And let's say that in here, I also want to add something cool, which is called a block quote. Let's see what that looks like as well. Let's have a look. Okay, so here you can see again some of this default formatting that HTML is doing for us to make it easier to distinguish bits of text and what they do or what they allow us to achieve. So we have my cat Jane as a header, we have all this text, which is part of an article, and we have a quote in there from Anna McDougall, which says, "I am amazing." And I'm gonna say it's by Anna McDougall. Yeah. Now I think again, if I press enter here and save, you'll see it just jumps back up the line because there's no break. So let's add a break and save. Ooh, that's nice. Nice formatting, prettier, thank you. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's cool. But normally when you get a quote like this, normally this part is in italics, right? Because it's not part of the quote, it's who said it. And normally this part here, I don't know, it could be just a bit bigger, right? Maybe a little bit bigger. So let's talk about how we can do that. Let's pop in here. What we can do is actually put one of those lower header tags on this one, right? So we could do something like H6, and this would give it a little bit of formatting. Shouldn't interrupt too much of our hierarchy because it's such a low, so low in the hierarchy. It shouldn't make much of a difference. GitHub Copilot. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. And here we can do two things. We can either use an I tag. This is how I learned it in the 90s, right? There was I tag for italics, and then there was a B tag for bold, and they're actually changed now. I'll tell you about the alternatives in a second, but let's just show you the I tag first. I save, And then we can have a look. And here you can see that, look, it's formatted, it's so far down the heading hierarchy that it's actually made it smaller than the rest. So we're gonna have to bump it up a little bit there. Let's go with H3 in that case, because that's a little too small. Not quite what I was going for. And because it's an H3, do we need this break tag anymore? No, we don't. So let's delete it. Because as I said before, H3, these headers are block elements. They block the entire width of the page and they force everything that comes next underneath them. All right, so let's see. Aha, that's looking a little bit nicer. Still not perfect, but looking much closer to a real quote now. Very nice. All right, so let's talk about I. We have I, we also have what's called emphasis. I think that's right, but it's not called, you don't write the whole thing, it's just M. This is how you can see that I haven't actually done this in a while. Be kind, dear viewers, be kind. All right, let's save it and have a look. Oh, it looks exactly the same to us. So why would we use M instead of italics? When would we use italics instead of M? There is actually a difference. It's not just whatever one you prefer. In reality, probably no one in the entire universe is going to pull you up on it if you use M all the time. But there is a difference. M, as I said before, stands for emphasis. This is for when you're in a sentence. Let's say this opening sentence. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consectetur adipicing, I'm guessing, I think that the C is a ch sound. Anyway, adipicing elit. Okay, but let's say I really want the word amet to be like emphasized, or maybe sit amet. Yeah, I can put M here. And now, rather than lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consectetur, blah, 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 it's lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consectetur elit. Right? So this is the idea. It should be about emphasizing something in a sentence. It's where if you were reading it, you would put a little more, you'd push the voice a little more at that moment, right? That's the idea. Here though, we're not in a sentence, we're attributing something. So here actually, if we want to be technical, I'm pretty confident we use italics, because this is just telling us the role that this piece of information plays in the context of this quote. I'm also still not loving that this is listed as a header, especially because, as I said, it's not actually a header, right? It's a quote. So let's talk about two other tags we can use. Here is B, which is bold. And let's save and see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. So you've got lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consectetur. And we've got this I Am Amazing by Anna McDougall. We've lost our line break. Why? Anyone? Anyone been paying attention and wants to tell me why we lost our line break? I don't actually know how much delay there is between what I say and the chat that comes through, so maybe no one's quick enough, but I'll have some water. I'll give you all a little moment to tell me why they're on the same line now. Why have we lost our line break? I feel like Alexandria knows this one, but that's cool. We'll do a few more seconds, have a bit more water. Give everyone a little pause because it's been, what, about an hour? I think it's been about an hour. Yeah, about an hour. Okay. Well, since no one's answering, hopefully you folks at home watching this back at a later date get it that we have taken the H tag out, and so we're no longer using a block element here. And as I said, there are some tags that are block elements like H1, H2, H3. Aha, Max got it. Nice one. Good one, Max. And there are some tags that are inline. The italic tag, the emphasis tag, the bold tag, and its counterpart, the strong tag, all of those are inline elements. So that means that in this situation, we end up with having them inline and we have to add our line break back after all that. Yeah, you got it, Max, you got it. I think there must just be quite a delay here. All right, there we go. Oh, and now look at that. Great, and look at the self-confidence. Look at, like, I am amazing. Maybe I should make it I am amazing. No, that's terrible. Just, you know what, forget I ever said it. All right, now last but not least, we have our little copyright thing at the bottom. I'm gonna say, let me think, how do I want to do this? I could do this. Maybe we just use a little copyright circle or something. Okay, we can just use a little copyright circle, and we want this text to be small, right? Because we don't want it to be the same as our article, right? There's another tag we can use here called the footer. A footer is basically the counterpart to nav, right? So you have nav, you have the main section of your web page, we'll talk about that in a second, and then you normally have the footer. So let's put the footer here, and let's put this in here. Now again, the footer doesn't actually do anything, it just separates out our text. And let's turn this copyright into a little circle thing. I'm just wondering if there's any shortcut for this, but I don't think there is. I think we just have to look up. I just think we have to look up the symbol, copyright symbol. There you go. There we go. All right, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm sure that some people out there have memorized the shortcut, keyboard shortcut, but I have not. But now again, we want to make this smaller. Again, I'm going to blow your mind with the tags. We can just say small. This is inline. This is an inline element. Make it small, save. Let's have a look. Where are we? There we go. And now we've got a nice small copyright message at the bottom of our website. So that's looking quite nice. I think since I've already gone over an hour, I'm just going to show you one final thing because it's pretty important, and those are links. Links are basically what makes the internet the internet. If you couldn't link to anything else, you would have to somehow memorize or bookmark every single page you wanted to visit. If you went to your banking website, for example, and you wanted to log in, well, you could, I suppose, through routing, but without any links, you couldn't like decide to go and do a transfer now. Do you know what I mean? You can't link to anything. Google wouldn't exist if links didn't exist, because what is Google except a giant list of links? So links are basically what you click on to go to another website or to another page. Let's say that my home button, I want that to, well, actually, let's leave home alone for a second. Oh dear. It's called hypertext because of links. There you go, Mohammed. Exactly. Yeah, hypertext is links. Yes, thank you. Let's say that my about, I actually want that to link to my outside webpage. So you might think that I'm about to type link. Sorry to disappoint you, I'm not. I'm actually going to type A. The A stands for anchor, right? Anchor link. If I remember correctly. Again, I'm not great at memorization, so. And then to specify where we go, because much like an image, right, a link can exist, right? If we save this, right, it says about, it's got a link tag around it. We look at the web page. Nothing's happening, right? Because it doesn't have anywhere to go. It doesn't know what you want to do with this link yet. So what we do is we type href. Yeah, this is like a reference. And here we can type AnnaMcDougall.com. All right, we save. So notice that I've got this HTTP here, right? So that's important, right? I don't actually know nowadays, but I know in the olden days, ye olde days, let's test it out. I don't think you could type just www dot and it would work. It wouldn't work for me in the old days. Let's test it now. I don't know if it works anymore. No, it doesn't work. See, it tries to add that on to the end of what we've already got. That's not what we want. We want it to go to a completely new address. I'm glad that didn't work because I would have been a bit appalled if it had. I would have been like, that's not precise enough. So let's go back. Here we go. So now we should click it and it still doesn't like it. Did I not save? Did I not save? I did save. Uh-oh. What am I missing? Oh, there we go. Okay, now it works. Gosh, I was about to be like, who am I? Am I even a developer? Here we go. Okay, and here you can see my webpage. Wonderful. This is not our webpage, but it is HTML. So there you go. All right, let's go back. Okay. But now I want to go to my contact page. Well, I don't have a contact page yet, so let's make one. New file. We'll call this, I know, shocking, contact.html. Now remember what happened here when I didn't type the HTTP in. It just added the www whatever onto the end of where we already were. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. If we do a href again, I always say it href in my head, and I know technically it's href, but I cannot stop saying href. It's a fun fact. Here we can literally just type contact.html. Why can we type it that way? Because we're already in the same place. It's already in the same folder right next to it. There's no kind of secret formula here that we need. We literally just type something that's in the same folder. If we had a different folder, then we might have to type, you know, folder name / contact.html. But for now, all we have to do is type that. Again, we're going to use our exclamation mark to build an HTML website nice and quickly. Boom, there it is. And we're going to call this contact. Me. Yeah, easy. And here, I'm going to make a really quick form. So I'm going to use an H1, and I'm going to call it contact me. Right, this is the first header, first level, top header. I'm going to make a little form. I'm going to say input type equals text. And actually we can make it self-closing like that. Relative paths. I know. Button, and then we'll just do submit. Right, okay, this should be enough. Let's have a look at this. You don't need to, by the way, I know that was quite quick compared to what I've done the rest of this tutorial. Forms are like a whole other world of HTML, and hopefully one day in the near future, I'll have a chance to sit down and go through them with you and talk about some best practices there. For now, just accept that you can make forms in HTML. They can do things thanks to third-party websites. You can even have them send you emails and all kinds of stuff. But for now, all we want to do is see a form, right? We don't actually want it to do anything. This won't do anything except for reload our page, which we don't really want. But anyway, now that you know, that's what it is. So we'll refresh. Did I save? I did not save. Yeah, again, here's that white dot is our quick way to see if we've saved. In this case, I haven't. There is another setting, just so you know, if you don't want to have to manually save, there is this auto save button here. And if you toggle that on, what will happen is every time you make a change, it will save the document. And then because of our live server is constantly refreshing, it will instantly refresh it as well. So it makes things very easy. Personally, I still like saving manually. I don't know why. I guess it makes me feel like I've achieved something in my life. But anyway, let's try it. I've saved. Let's go back to Google Chrome, and we've got our contact. So if I click this, here we go. We've got a little form. It says contact me. We've got a text field. We've got submit. Again, these are in a line because these are inline elements. Thank God for autosave. Yeah, I mean, it's an option. It's an option for sure. These are inline elements, and so they go right next to each other. You don't need to worry too much about that. All that's important is that we're here. We don't have any link back. So what we can do just very quickly to kind of wrap up our time here is we can actually just copy this. Oops. Copy our nav, Control C, and we can just paste it straight in here. Right? And then here we're already on the contact page, so we'll just remove that link because that looks more impressive. And then we'll add a link back home. Ahref equals. And again, this is a benefit of VS Code and of IDEs generally, is that it will actually even offer it to us. Look, if we do this, it will even show us the files that are in our folder. So it's really easy for us to select it. And we'll go like that. And save. It's so funny, Max, because there's a delay between what I say and your reactions. I love that you're laughing, but I have no idea what you're laughing about. I have a very weird sense of humor, so I never know what people actually find funny. But I hope that you're enjoying yourself. That's the most important thing. All right, so let's save that, and let's have a look. All right, we'll go to our contact page. Ooh, look at that. And now it looks like our nav bar is staying still. Now it's not staying still. This is actually a new nav bar. When I click on contact and go to the contact page, it's actually reloading. It's creating a new nav bar for me. But it looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks as if it's the same, and that's all that matters. It's an illusion. Of course, there is so much more we could do today, but I think that those are the absolute basics. They'll allow you to get started. There is a lot you can do here. Okay, let's sum up what we've spoken about. Before we do, I should actually also mention there is another tag called main that I would always recommend using between nav and footer. So my default structure was always nav, main, footer. Nav, main, footer. And in the nav, you put the nav items. Yeah. Later on, when you learn CSS, you can learn, thank you, Kettle. You can learn how to format these to go all in a row or to have drop downs or all kinds of cool stuff. But for now, this is enough to know that navs are usually done with unlisted items and list items. And then you've got the main section, which has basically the bulk of what your website is, and then a little footer that kind of has all that bottom section of information. All right, so that's one other thing I did want to mention before we finished up. But let's talk about how far we've come. Okay, we've downloaded VS Code. We've installed two extensions. Yeah, we installed Live Server so that our website kind of automatically updates and is much easier to check. And we installed Prettier. We went into the settings and set it to autosave, so to format on save, so that when we save our file, it automatically formats our document and makes it much easier to read for other developers or for ourselves when we leave our code and come back after a while. It's really good to be able to know exactly what's going on. So we can see nav is inside body, the list item is inside the unordered list, which is inside the nav, which is inside the body. We spoke about what HTML is broadly. We spoke about what happens in the head and what the title represents. We spoke about what semantic HTML is. Yeah, these tags that help us kind of, I suppose, explain what our different sections are, even when they don't have any visual impact, I should say. Then we spoke about conventions with nav and lists. We spoke about unordered lists and ordered lists. We then looked at images. Very important to note that this source works, as far as I know, identically to how this ref works, right? So if we had this image inside our folder, if we downloaded this image to our folder, we could also just do that and it would work, right? But in this case, we don't. So we're going to refer to the entire web address. And we spoke about how you can resize images using width, and we can also use height, by the way, in the same way. We spoke about line breaks and why we sometimes need them because of block elements and inline elements. We spoke about headers and how they represent different tiers of information and different tiers of headers. We spoke about the article tag, the block quote tag, which does some formatting for us, but then we looked into bold and strong as options to make the text thicker, right? And we looked into italics and emphasis, explained what the difference is. Yeah, emphasis being to stress something in a sentence, and italics mostly being for references, book titles, things like that. We then spoke about the footer and about how this small text works. And then we spoke about links and how they work both for external sites and for internal sites. And of course, we did have a little quick taste tester of forms, but I think that's better left for another day. So all in all, that is my introduction to HTML. I hope that you have found it useful. I hope that for those of you who are totally new, you can see now how HTML forms the basis of websites. As I mentioned earlier, every website is, in the end, HTML. And you can look at that in any website by hitting F12 and then looking at elements. And here you can see there's our nav, our main, and our footer, right? And your browser even does this cool thing where it shows you which section each is in, right? And then later on, we will use this ability to actually help us style the page and be able to do things like put this text next to the picture, change the color of things. We can actually already do that to some extent with HTML, but for now, I think we've covered enough. I hope this helps get you started in the world of HTML and web development, and that you get excited about all of the opportunities that this brings. It might not look like much, right? This is no fancy website, but what you are learning here is the skeleton, right? This is the skeleton of every website. CSS is like the clothes and the body and everything like that. And JavaScript, that is a programming language, that adds like the brain, right? But right now, what you're doing is learning the building blocks, the foundations, the skeleton, however you want to think of it, that allows you to start developing your skills as a web developer and allows you to start building, I don't know, the next Facebook, the next Instagram, whatever you want. It's all out there, and this is how most web developers begin, by learning this stuff. So you're on the right track. Thank you so much, Alexandria. That's lovely to hear. Make sure, of course, to comment and like this video. I hate that I have to say that, but I do not actually put videos out all that often. So every little piece of support really matters to me. And of course, I have no idea how well or badly I do this stuff unless people give me feedback. So please feel free to give me that feedback in the form of hopefully thumbs ups and or constructive criticism. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a real treat. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you all tonight. And yeah, I just hope you found this useful. So have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time. Bye. Let's see if I can show you something nice while I... Oh, that's nice.